Welcome to the Dark Vault, a place where fear takes form, mysteries unfold, and crimes whisper their untold secrets. Each story will pull you deeper into the unknown, into the darkness where only the brave dare to tread. Are you ready to unlock the vault? It was supposed to be a fresh start, a new city, a new life. After graduating, I found an affordable place to rent, an old Victorian house on the edge of town. The rent was too good to pass up. The landlord, Mr. Willard, was strange. His shaky hands and darting eyes gave off an unsettling vibe. When he handed me the keys, he whispered, "There's a basement. Don't go down there. It's better if you don't know what's in it." But, desperate for a place to stay, I brushed it off. I was young, naive, and didn't think much of old houses or their mysteries. The first few nights were uneventful. The house creaked as any old house would. I didn't mind. It was quiet. I felt alone in a peaceful way. But then, on the third night, I woke up to a strange noise, a dragging sound, slow and deliberate. At first, I thought it was the house settling, but the noise was unmistakably coming from the basement. I tried to ignore it, but my curiosity grew. The noise continued, thump, scrape, thump, scrape. My heart began to race. Was someone down there? Was there a burglar? The idea seemed absurd. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. I grabbed a flashlight and approached the basement door. The old wood felt colder than usual beneath my fingers. The air was thick, heavy. I hesitated before twisting the knob and creaking the door open. The darkness swallowed the flashlight beam. A cold draft hit my face. The temperature had dropped significantly in the short time I'd been standing there. My skin prickled. Something felt wrong, but I couldn't stop myself. I stepped down the stairs. The wood groaned under my weight as I descended deeper. My flashlight flickered. I ignored it, telling myself it was just old wiring. But then I saw it. The shadows seemed to move with me, following my every step. I froze. Was it just the light playing tricks? Or was something in the basement moving? I shined my flashlight around, illuminating the clutter of old boxes and dusty furniture, remnants of forgotten years. But as my gaze shifted to the far wall, something caught my eye. A door that shouldn't have been there. It was hidden behind a pile of boxes, its surface old and worn. The wood was scarred with strange symbols I didn't recognize. My breath quickened as I stepped toward it. Why had I never noticed it before? Was this part of the house I wasn't supposed to see? My mind raced with possibilities. Maybe it was an old cellar. Maybe Mr. Willard had sealed it off for a reason. As my hand reached for the handle, the temperature dropped even further. I could see my breath now, a thin mist that disappeared into the thickening air. I tried to turn away, but something inside me, something dark, pushed me forward. The door creaked open with a long, agonizing sound. The darkness behind it was suffocating. The cold air spilled out like something alive. My flashlight illuminated the narrow passage beyond the door. The walls were covered in the same strange symbols that marred the door, twisting around each other in an unsettling pattern. The floor was uneven, with loose stones jutting out at odd angles. Something was wrong, deeply wrong. I could feel it in my bones, a weight in the air that wasn't natural. But despite everything, I couldn't bring myself to turn around. There was something calling me. I stepped forward, my footsteps echoing in the silence. The deeper I went, the colder it became. The air was thick with the smell of decay, of something old, something forgotten. At the end of the passage, I saw it. A pedestal. On it, a small wooden box. It was beautiful, carved with intricate designs, but something about it made my stomach churn. It felt ancient, like it had been waiting for someone to find it. The box wasn't just an object. It was something more, something alive. I couldn't resist. My hand reached out as though it had a mind of its own. The moment I touched the box, a cold surge shot through my body. My chest tightened and my breath caught in my throat. The walls seemed to shift. The shadows stretched, contorting into figures that weren't there. The air became suffocating. My flashlight flickered again, then died, leaving me in total darkness. I tried to pull my hand back, but it wouldn't budge. Something held me there, forcing me to touch the box. And then, the room around me seemed to vibrate, a low hum vibrating through the floor. The box trembled in my hand, as if it were waking up. Suddenly, the ground beneath me buckled. I fell to my knees as the air turned thick and oppressive. A sharp, ear-piercing screech filled the room, coming from nowhere and everywhere. The walls shook, and the symbols on them began to move, crawling like insects. I could hear whispers, faint but insistent, crawling beneath the surface of my thoughts. Get out, before it's too late. The voice was unmistakable, yet distant, like it was coming from the walls themselves. It echoed through my skull, pulling at the very fabric of my sanity. Every part of me screamed to run, to escape. But the whispers, they wouldn't let me. My body froze. I wanted to turn and flee, but my legs felt as if they were encased in stone. My fingers trembled as I slowly released the box from my grasp, but I couldn't tear my eyes away. I stared at the thing, waiting, watching. The basement was growing colder. The darkness seemed to thicken around me, like a tangible presence pressing in from all sides. The temperature had plummeted so drastically that my breath came out in white clouds, even though it was summer. Then, from the shadows, something stirred. A figure, tall, impossibly tall, moved into the dim light, its shape flickering like a mirage. Its limbs were unnaturally long, bending at grotesque angles, as if the bones themselves had been distorted over time. Its face was pale, hollow, stretched tight over something. Wrong. I blinked, but when I opened my eyes, the figure was closer, much closer. It moved without making a sound. Its eyes, small and piercing, gleamed with a sickly yellow light. I felt them boring into me, as though it could see into the deepest corners of my mind. My heart pounded in my chest, but I couldn't move. I was paralyzed, held captive by its gaze. You shouldn't have come. The voice wasn't a whisper this time. It was a command, low, guttural, like it was coming from the very depths of the earth. The words reverberated in my skull, sending chills through my entire body. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. The creature stepped closer, its movements jerky and unnatural. The air around it shimmered, distorting the light. Its fingers elongated, claw-like, reaching for me. I gasped, stumbling back. My legs still refused to obey me. The darkness was all around now, suffocating, pressing in from every direction. Then the floor beneath me groaned. Something shifted, something large, something alive. I looked down, and that's when I saw it. The shadows, the darkness. It wasn't just in the corners. It was crawling beneath the floorboards, writhing, swirling, as though it had a life of its own. I saw it. It was moving toward me. The ground shook again, and I fell to my knees, my breath coming in short, desperate gasps. The air was thick with the stench of decay. But it wasn't just the air, the house itself. This place, this home, felt like it was alive, like it was breathing. I struggled to get back on my feet, my hands shaking uncontrollably, but I couldn't escape. The whispers had turned into voices, hundreds of them, all around me now. They weren't just in my head, they were everywhere. It's too late for you. I heard the words clearly, the malicious undertone sending a cold shiver down my spine. The shadows twisted, pulsing with a sickening rhythm. The figure in front of me grinned, revealing rows of jagged, broken teeth. Its smile was wide, too wide, stretching impossibly across its face. You were never meant to leave. Suddenly, I felt something sharp rush against my ankle, followed by a dragging sensation. I jerked my foot back in panic, but whatever it was that had touched me didn't stop. It pulled harder, dragging me closer to the darkness. No, I couldn't let it take me. I couldn't let it win. I pulled with every ounce of strength left in me, my fingers digging into the floorboards, my nails scraping against the wood. But the pull was stronger than I could fight. It was relentless. Then I saw something I hadn't noticed before, a figure in the doorway. It was Mr. Willard. But something was wrong. His eyes were wide, frantic, and his lips trembled as he whispered, "It's coming. You don't know what you've done." His voice broke through the haze of fear, pulling me from the edge of the abyss. But it was too late. The house shuddered as the shadows swarmed, enveloping everything in sight. I tried to scream, but the sound was lost in the chaos. The walls groaned with a deafening crash, the ground beneath me giving way as if the entire house were collapsing in on itself. And then, in a moment of pure terror, I felt the ground drop from beneath me. I was falling. The darkness swallowed me whole. I fell for what seemed like an eternity. The floor dropped out from beneath me, and I felt myself plummeting into an abyss, the cold air biting at my skin. I screamed, but no sound escaped. It was as if the house had swallowed every last breath from my lungs. Then, everything stopped. The fall, the darkness, the suffocating pull. I hit the ground hard, flesh meeting cold stone. My body was bruised, aching, but I didn't have time to think about it. My heart was pounding in my chest, my mind racing. I scrambled to my feet, breathless and disoriented. The house was silent. For a moment, there was nothing. No whispers, no shadows, no presence. Just the ringing in my ears, the echo of my panicked heartbeat. I stumbled forward, hands trembling as I touched the cold walls around me, trying to find my bearings. The air was thick with decay, but it felt different. The house, the basement, it had changed. But I wasn't alone. The whispers started again. They were louder this time, more insistent. A low hum, like 1,000 voices murmuring in the darkness, each one overlapping the other until it became impossible to distinguish. But one thing was clear, they weren't speaking to me anymore. They were speaking about me. She's gone, but the house is hungry. The sound of dragging returned, closer now but different. It wasn't the same thing I had encountered before. This was something worse. The scraping of claws on stone. The sound of something powerful, ancient, relentless. I turned toward the corner of the basement, my breath catching in my throat. A figure stood there, just at the edge of my vision. I couldn't see it clearly, but I could feel it, a presence, dark and powerful, lurking in the shadows. She won't be the last. The words chilled me to my core. And in that moment, I understood. This house, this thing in the basement, wasn't just some lingering curse. It was alive, alive in a way that defied logic. It fed off fear, off pain, off the helplessness of anyone who entered its grasp. and no one had ever truly left. I felt the walls close in around me again, the air growing thick and suffocating. The floor beneath me creaked, and the darkness pressed closer, as though trying to crush me, to swallow me whole. But this time, I wasn't going to let it. With every ounce of strength I had left, I forced myself to my feet. I didn't know where I was going, or what I was even running from anymore. I just ran. I bolted up the stairs, my legs screaming with every step. My heart hammered in my chest, a frantic rhythm that pushed me forward even as my body screamed for rest. I didn't dare look back. I didn't want to see what was chasing me. The door at the top of the stairs was open. I didn't stop. I didn't hesitate. I ran straight out of the house, out into the night, and didn't look back. The fresh air hit me like a wave. The cool breeze filled my lungs, pushing the stale, suffocating air from the house out of me. I ran down the street, faster and faster, until the house was just a silhouette in the distance. I collapsed in the middle of the street, gasping for breath, my body shaking uncontrollably. The adrenaline began to wear off, and with it, the horrifying realization I had barely escaped with my life. But the house, the basement, that thing, it would never stop. As the days passed, I tried to forget. I told myself it was over, that whatever had happened in that house was behind me. But no matter how hard I tried to shake it off, the memories clung to me like the shadows in the basement. Then, one night, I saw something. A headline on the news. Family of 3 disappears after moving into old house on Millbrook Avenue. The article was brief, but the details were chillingly familiar. The house, the basement, and the eerie disappearance of another family. The whispers returned to me that night. It's coming back. You cannot escape. My blood ran cold as I realized the truth. It wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The house was hungry, and no matter how far I ran, no matter how many years passed, it would find its next victim. Someone else would move in. Someone else would unlock the basement door. And when they did, they would feel the same cold hand of terror, the same crushing weight of darkness that I had felt. It would never end. The house would always call. And when it did, it would be too late to escape. Thank you for exploring the dark vault. If you enjoyed our journey into the unknown, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Follow us for more captivating tales, and press the bell icon so you never miss a new video. The vault is always full of secrets waiting to be unlocked. Until next time, stay curious and stay brave.